A blade can protect or it can destroy. So too can your mind. When I was a child training under the cold mountain winds, my master once said, "The most dangerous weapon is not in your hands, it is in your thoughts." In the world of martial arts and deep internal training, there is a fundamental truth that transcends physical ability. The mind governs all. While muscles grow with repetition and endurance builds with time, the true seat of power lies in the mind's capacity to direct and transform. Every movement, every breath, every strike begins first as a thought, a silent command issued from within. The body may be the instrument, but the mind is the conductor of the entire performance. Without mental control, strength is wild and untamed. With it, even the weakest form can achieve the impossible. There is a moment in practice and in life where the body reaches what it believes to be its limit. Muscles shake, lungs burn, and exhaustion knocks loudly. In that moment, most will stop. But a trained mind can choose differently. It can acknowledge the pain and move forward anyway. It can override the instinct to retreat, to quit, to protect, and instead command the body to continue. This is not delusion. It is focus so sharp it cuts through doubt. It is awareness so pure it transcends distraction. This is the mind becoming the master. What separates the extraordinary from the ordinary is not just talent or genetics, it is the ability to remain still and steady when everything else is in chaos. In combat, it is not the strongest fighter who always wins, but the one whose mind is calm, present, and decisive. In life, it is not the one who avoids hardship, but the one who can look hardship in the eye and remain unmoved internally. This resilience is forged in silence, in repetition, in breath, and in intention. The mind, when properly trained, becomes a force beyond calculation. It is not bound by the limits of the physical world, because it can shift perception itself. It reframes failure as feedback, transforms fear into fuel, and sees struggle as opportunity. This is why the Shaolin monks and masters throughout time focus first on mental cultivation. The strength of the body is fleeting, but the strength of the mind, once awakened, becomes eternal. Harnessing this inner power is the first and most crucial step to achieving anything that others would call inhuman. There exists a rare and powerful state of being where the mind, body, and breath move as one, a state of radical mental focus. This level of concentration is not ordinary. It is not simply paying attention or trying hard. It is the complete merging of awareness and action, where there is no room for hesitation, fear, or distraction. In this state, the mind becomes so still, so sharp, that it can override the body's natural resistance, allowing you to endure more, push further, and act with seemingly inhuman strength. When the mind is fully focused, it no longer argues with discomfort. Pain may still arise, fatigue may still whisper its warnings, but they are no longer in control. Instead, the mind becomes the command center, issuing clear direction that the body obeys. In the martial arts world, there are moments during training where the body feels like it cannot continue. The legs tremble, the breath is shallow, the heart beats loud. Yet those who cultivate radical mental focus find that they can keep going. Not through brute force, but through clarity. It is the clarity that says, "This moment is not the end, keep moving." This type of focus is a kind of inner silence. In it, the usual internal noise, doubt, fear, complaints, fades away. What remains is pure action. That is why athletes speak of flow states, and monks speak of no mind. These are different words for the same experience, a state of being where effort becomes effortless. When someone is in this state, they appear to do the impossible, breaking boards, lifting extreme weights, or performing feats of endurance that defy logic. But it is not magic. It is the direct result of intense mental discipline. This focus can be trained. Breath control, mindfulness, repetition, and presence. These are the tools. Over time, they teach the brain not to react impulsively, but to respond deliberately. They teach the practitioner to stay rooted in the present, regardless of external pressure. And when the moment comes, whether in battle, in hardship, or in life's defining challenges, the one who has trained their mind can call upon this power at will. That is the essence of radical focus, a force that makes the ordinary extraordinary and the weak appear superhuman. In traditional training, especially in disciplines like Shaolin martial arts, the journey always begins with the body. Long hours are spent repeating movements, holding postures, and enduring physical discomfort. At first glance, it may seem like this is just about building muscle or perfecting technique, but the true purpose is deeper. Through this physical discipline, the mind is slowly and methodically shaped. The repetition of form, the control of breath, and the endurance of pain all serve to forge a mind that is calm, focused, and unwavering. When you force the body to remain still in uncomfortable positions or push it through fatigue, the mind is the first to rebel. It complains, it searches for escape, it creates excuses. But if you continue, something changes. The mind begins to quiet down. It stops resisting and starts adapting. Over time, this repeated confrontation with difficulty conditions the mind to observe instead of react, to endure instead of retreat. What begins as physical training becomes a deep mental transformation. Each kick, each stance, each breath becomes a form of meditation. The practitioner learns not just how to move, but how to remain present. And in this presence, clarity arises. This clarity is not just useful in martial arts, it applies to life. When someone learns to sit with discomfort on the training floor, they also learn to sit with emotional discomfort, with failure, with uncertainty. They build an internal strength that no external circumstance can easily shake. True mental discipline is not built in silence or comfort. It is forged in sweat, in effort, and in persistence. It is when the muscles ache and the mind wants to give up, yet the breath continues and the will remains steady. That moment is where growth happens. And as the body becomes stronger, so too does the mind. It becomes patient. It becomes still. It becomes sharp like a blade, not through force, but through consistency. Eventually, the separation between body and mind dissolves. Movement becomes thought. Stillness becomes awareness. The discipline of the body becomes the discipline of the mind. And this disciplined mind is not only capable of great strength, it is capable of peace, of clarity, and of true inner power. That is why physical practice, when done with intention, becomes a gateway to mental mastery. Power, in its purest form, is neutral. It is a tool, like fire. It can warm a home or burn it down. The ability to push past limits, to silence pain, and to override fear is undeniably powerful, but without purpose, that same ability can become deeply dangerous. The mind, when trained to suppress emotion, ignore suffering, and eliminate hesitation, can lose its balance. It can become a weapon without a cause, efficient, focused, and completely detached. In martial arts and in life, there is a reason why wisdom must walk beside strength. When someone masters the ability to override the body's signals, the warnings of pain, the cries for rest, they also learn how to suppress other forms of internal feedback. Compassion, empathy, and emotional connection can be silenced in the same way. The danger is not just physical, it is spiritual. A person who can no longer feel pain may appear invincible, but if they also stop feeling the pain of others, they risk becoming something less than human. This is the paradox of mental training. The more control one develops, the greater the responsibility that comes with it. Just as a blade must be wielded with intention, so must strength be guided by conscience. It is easy to admire someone who appears unshakable, who pushes through everything without flinching. But if that strength is rooted in numbness or ego, it can turn into something cold and destructive. History has shown us that some of the most disciplined minds have been capable of great cruelty, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked direction and empathy. True mastery is not only about how much you can endure or how far you can go. It is also about why you do it. Without purpose, strength can become domination. Without heart, discipline can become rigidity. Without compassion, focus can become obsession. This is why in every traditional path, whether martial, spiritual, or philosophical, the greatest teachers emphasize balance. Strength must be anchored. Power must serve something greater than itself. A focused mind is a gift, but an unfocused heart can turn that gift into a curse. The mind can make you powerful, but only purpose and empathy can make that power meaningful. Without them, what was once strength becomes isolation, and what once made you exceptional could, in the end, make you inhuman. True strength is not measured solely by how much one can lift, endure, or conquer. It is also revealed in how one chooses to use that strength. Power without compassion is like a sword without a sheath, sharp, dangerous, and uncontrolled. The most refined warriors, monks, and masters throughout history have always understood this. They did not train to become violent. They trained to master themselves, so that their strength could be of service, not destruction. Compassion is not weakness. In fact, it is one of the highest forms of strength. To remain kind when wronged, to act with empathy when others are cold, to offer patience in a world that rushes to judgment. These acts require a powerful mind and an even stronger heart. A person who has cultivated immense focus and physical power, yet still moves through the world with gentleness, is far more formidable than someone who acts from impulse or dominance. When strength is guided by compassion, it becomes purposeful. It protects rather than harms. It uplifts rather than suppresses. This kind of strength recognizes that every action has an impact and every word carries weight. It doesn't mean one avoids conflict or refuses to stand firm. Rather, it means choosing one's battles with wisdom, responding instead of reacting, and never letting power become a tool of ego. In the deepest moments of silence, when the breath is steady and the mind is clear, there is a natural emergence of empathy. One begins to sense the struggles of others not as separate, but as part of a shared human experience. And from that awareness comes a new kind of motivation. Not to dominate, but to serve. Not to intimidate, but to inspire. This integration of strength and compassion is what keeps us human. It is what allows us to grow powerful without becoming cruel and disciplined without becoming detached. The ability to feel deeply while standing firmly is not a contradiction. It is the highest form of mastery. In the end, it is not how strong you appear that defines your legacy, but how you use your strength to protect, to heal, and to connect. When compassion flows through strength, the result is not just power. It is peace. And that peace, once cultivated, becomes the true force that changes the world. Every person walks a path shaped by the choices they make. Each day, each moment presents a decision point, whether to step forward with awareness or to be pulled by impulse. The brain hack that allows someone to push past limits, to silence discomfort, and to command the body with precision is not inherently good or bad. It is a tool, and like any tool, its value depends entirely on the intention behind its use. This is why the greatest power anyone can possess is the ability to choose who they become. Mental focus, strength, and discipline are developed through effort, consistency, and struggle, but once attained, they offer a unique form of freedom. Freedom from hesitation, freedom from fear, freedom from the common limitations that bind others. Yet this freedom is not without risk. With such power comes the temptation to use it for control, superiority, or detachment. One may begin to see emotions as weaknesses, empathy as a distraction, and others as obstacles. In this state, the person may feel inhumanly strong, but they may also be drifting away from what makes them truly human. What defines humanity is not just the ability to think or act with purpose, but the capacity to feel and connect. The strength to lift a heavy burden is admirable, but the wisdom to lift someone else's burden is even greater. A person who has mastered their mind can become a light for others, or a shadow. The deciding factor is choice. Every act of discipline, every moment of self-control is also an opportunity to ask, what am I becoming? Am I growing stronger to protect or to overpower? Am I focused to serve or to dominate? This question cannot be answered once. It must be answered continually. Life will challenge you again and again, and each time you will have to choose. You will have to remember that your strength, no matter how refined, is not your identity. It is your responsibility. The world is full of powerful people who lost themselves because they stopped asking this question. But those who remember, those who stay grounded in compassion and purpose, become more than strong. They become whole. In the end, you are not made by what you can do, but by what you choose to do. And that choice repeated with awareness and integrity, shapes not just your destiny, but your very humanity.